what it is, what's happening. Welcome back to the channel. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you watch this garbage. And hit that little like and subscribe bell button thing, Johnson, whatever the hell it is. So today's video is going to be, actually I'm going to call it story time with Ed. I'm going to tell a little story. And what it's going to devolve into is about mechanics and side work and some stories from back in the day. And how I end up with this story for today is I was on a Facebook post earlier today. Of course, I'm on a million car Facebook forums. 90% of the time I've learned to just keep my mouth shut. But I read this one and it kind of bothered me a little bit. And what it was about was a guy had an older, I want to say 94-ish Bronco. He took it to the dealer to have him go over it. Now, I don't know this guy from a can of paint. I don't know if this guy's not mechanically inclined, doesn't own tools, lives in an apartment complex, can't work. I don't know. He took it there to have him check it over. They wrote a whole, you know, like you roll toilet paper list on this thing. A wish list is what I like to call it. They're wishing that they get all this work and this money. The bill came to probably more than what the truck was worth. He could probably buy 5 Broncos for what they wanted to fix this one. The one that stuck out the most was $160, I think. Might have been $180, I can't remember exactly, but it was over $100. To diagnose, not fix, diagnose emergency brake cable. Now, most of you guys that follow my channels, I say channels because a lot of my people watch my junk on Facebook, are car guys. And we all know there's only a few things in an old school emergency brake pedal. You got the pedal itself, you got the cable, then it goes to 2 cables to each wheel, and they go inside the drum. They work the little arms that pushes the spreader bar, pushes the shoes out. So you either have a broken cable, you have a messed up foot pedal, you have frozen cables, or you just have worn out rear brakes. So what? A few minutes, put the thing up on the lift, pull the wheels. If they were doing a full check over, they've already had the wheels off to look at the brake shoes. That's my point. So I felt bad for this guy, so I chimed in. Like I said, most of the time I keep these two big fat things shut because everybody's an expert. And everybody thinks that everybody else does it wrong. That's fine. I do things the way I do them. You may not do them that way. You may not agree. I don't care. But I've been in this business since I was long enough before. I wasn't even old enough to drive. And I've been putting motors in cars and working on cars. And the guys that want to argue with me couldn't set a set of points or rebuild a carburetor. Those are the guys that want to argue with me. I've got 30 plus years and thousands of man hours in this business. What do I mean by that? Well, now we're going to take it back to when I was 17 years old. We're going to go back in time. So when I was about 17, I was fortunate enough that I grew up. My father owned a repair shop. He actually even owned a sweeping business. Where we had sweeper trucks and swept parking lots. That's where I learned to drive. That's actually where I learned to drive a stick shift vehicle. Some of our trucks were, they were called mobile sweepers, and they were powered by a 306-cylinder with a stick, and had steering wheels on each side. So you could clean the curbs from either side. I learned how to drive stick by driving that. And I think I was about, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, somewhere's in that area. I was really young. And my father, I just had a fascination with cars and trucks from a young age. My father says to me, he had bought a 67 Chevy pickup. And they were going to use it. He had that truck and he had, I believe it was a 64 Ford F100 with a little flatbed. Those trucks had fuel tanks on them. And they would go to the job sites and they used those trucks to fuel the sweeper trucks that stayed on the job sites. And they'd use this truck to go around from site to site. And like I said, my father had a repair shop. So I learned how to drive stick and full with this equipment. And I just was fascinated with it. So when I was, like I said, 12, 13 years oldish, Pop comes to me and he says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. He says, if you take the motor, he bought a 64 Chevy pickup. He said, you take the 6-cylinder out of that 64 and you put it in that 67 all by yourself. You can keep the 64 Chevy pickup and I'll give you a 283 to full with and you can take it home. My mom and dad were divorced. My mom had a big house with a garage and all. So he says, you can take the truck home and the motor home and play with it at home. As a young kid, that's like, oh, if you're into cars, that's like the greatest thing ever. It took me a whole summer. Don't get me wrong, it took me a whole summer. But I got that motor in there. I think Pop helped me set the points and the carburetor, and I got it running. And then I remember he took me and my cousin out to next door to his shop. There was a German club that had a great big parking lot. And he took us out there and let us drive the 3 on the tree and the pickup. And then, after that, it was kind of like he would cut me loose on stuff. Sometimes he would just disappear in the afternoon, and my pop would show you how to do things once. Then after that, he'd say, figure it out. And he'd walk away from you. I remember he showed me how to light a set of torches and shut them off the correct way. And after that, he said, don't burn the shop down and don't burn the field down. What he meant by the field was we had an acre of ground with about 100 cars in it. And we'd pull motors, and he would get junk cars. Back then, you got to remember now, back then people used to give you cars. We had, you name it, Dodge Darts, Vegas. I remember we had this, I want to say it was a 70 or 71 Impala with a 454 in it. I mean, we used to take it out when Pop wasn't looking. We'd be doing burnouts in this thing. We had all kinds of stuff. Volkswagens. I mean, Pop would let us get some of the stuff running and play with it in the field, like go around a circle in the field. And he would be out there too, half liquored up, doing donuts and stuff. But I got to learn this stuff at an early age. So we fast forward a few years. I'm now old enough to drive. At that age, I was very, like I said, fortunate that I could work on shit. I put motors in. I could figure out how to get motors running. I bought a 69 Chevy pickup. And I bought the truck with a blown up 6-cylinder. I put a 350 in it all by myself in my mom's garage. I did everything. I stripped this thing down. I even painted it myself. It didn't look too hateful. Maybe I'll slide a picture in there. I was proud of it. I mean, it was the truck I drove to high school. I had it for many, many years. But that started my love affair with vehicles and trucks. So people knew that I enjoyed those Chevy trucks. People used to give them to me. They'd call my dad. And, oh, I know Eddie likes them trucks. Does he want another one of them trucks? Just go get it. Me and my buddy, we dragged these things home with a chain back in the day, or a piece of rope. I remember we towed one home. We tied battery cables in a knot and drug this thing home one night. But what happened was we had a Karen in my mom's neighborhood. And Karen called the county on my mother. And there was 20 trucks. And it might not have been 20. There might have been 15 of these things. And all sorts of, some had the cab off. Some had the front clip off. Some were complete. Some were without motors. I mean, I would get these things in all sorts of shape. And the county got called. And the reason I remember I was 17 was you can't rent a commercial building in my state unless you're 18. So my stepfather, he signed for me to get a building. And man, I'll tell you, after that, back then in my time, if you had a shop, you and your car buddies, if you owned the shop, you were like the god. Oh, Eddie's got a shop. He's got tools. He's got this. You were like the king if you had a shop back in the day. Because most of my friends either lived in apartments, a trailer park, or a neighborhood where their mom and dad weren't car people, and they weren't allowed to even open the hood on the car because their mom and dad's like, you ain't touching that Camaro. You leave it alone. Like my buddy Dave. Dave had a 67 Camaro, and his dad would break his arms off if he opened the hood up. So he used to sneak it up the street. And we took the motor out of it one night. It had a 6-cylinder, and we took it out and we put this 307 in it. Whew, his old man was hot when he brought this thing home. Of course, Dave takes it home, open headers. That didn't help. But that's the kind of stuff we did back in the day. So, like I said, it keeps going. And I had quite a few shops throughout the years. I had tons of shops. And the thing was, I always worked for somebody. So I always had this shop on the side and always worked for somebody. So I always had a place to do this. It brings me to my whole thing of this video. So this poor guy, he doesn't know what to do, He's like, I don't know what to do, What should I do? He's asking all these guys on the forum. And I said to him, what you need to do is you need to go back to that shop and just don't go to the service counter. Just walk around back. It's a nice day, weather. They're going to have the doors open. Go up and ask one of the techs, hey, man, do you do any side work? Now, the tech may say, no, I'm not allowed to do side work. They might fire me. Yeah, it's okay, no problem. Do you know anybody that does any side work? And the reason I say that is I, myself, always did side work. I have friends of mine that work at the dealership. They do side work. So I said to this guy, you need, because he's quite a few states away. So I said, if you lived close enough to me, I'd tell you to bring it here, and I'll give you a hell of a rate, and I'll get you straightened out, get you on the road. I said, find you a guy that does side work, because almost all mechanics, almost all, not all, but almost all mechanics do side work. It's how we live. I kind of got roped into it because I always needed a place to work on my junk. I like to have junk. I have a lot of junk. That thing behind me belongs to me. I could spin you around, probably show you 15 other cars here. Now, lucky for me, I own this. This belongs to me. After 20-some years of renting, I had enough. I won't rent another building. And in my state, they've gotten really, really sticky about renting to you if you're automotive. As soon as you open your word up and say, yeah, I want to use it for automotive, they cut you off. Oh, no, we don't want automotive. Because a lot of guys ruined it. Now, back in the day when I was young, all my car buddies, they would have a shop. 5 or 6 guys would get in together. They'd rent like 1,500 square feet. Each one of them would keep their car, you know. And you go, my buddy Doug, he had a shop, I think with 3 other guys. And there'd be like a couple Camaros and their Mustangs. Everybody was into this. But nowadays, the whole shop thing, it's kind of going away, and it's kind of sad. I mean, even the whole cruising thing's gone. But I was trying to tell this guy, you know, a lot of mechanics do side work. My good friend, he's a Ford tech. He has a garage at his house with a lift in it. I mean, this here is my home. I live here, and I have a lift, tools. I own tow trucks. I own a rollback. I'm going to buy another rollback here in a week or two. I put most of my money, I put a good bit of my money back into my shop, because eventually, my plan is eventually, when I retire, because I work full-time during the day at a car lot working on cars, I would like to scale back and do 3 or 4 jobs, like maybe work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I ain't doing shit the rest of the week. Eventually that's my goal. If I can make enough money to pay my bills, you know, and whatever new thing I buy, you know, hopefully the new Bronco, if it's not a turd, not the Bronco Sport. But that's my plan eventually. That's my working goal. And, you know, if you do good work and you charge a fair price, you'll get tons of work. If you're a guy that works in a dealership or works at an independent shop that wants to do side work, you'll get it. If you do fair work, you take care of the customer, don't try to hit a home run on every job you do. You can't hit a home run on every job. If you kill the guy right out of the gate, he'll never come back. I've got guys that come 30 miles from up north to me for me to work on their cars. And they come religiously because I take care of them. They've all told me the same thing. We'll do the drive because you're fair, you're honest with us, and you don't price gouge us. You know, and that's all you got to do. You don't have to be, you know, they understand you need to make money. Most people understand that, yes, you need to make money. But do you need to charge, this timing set is $140, my cost. Do you need to charge a customer $400 for it? No. Do you need to make that money? Make it on your labor. Treat the guy right. The guy's coming back. The guy is coming back. Trust me. I work on painting company vans. This little Sonic behind me, I've been working on these people's cars for 10 years. Now, the man's retired and he lives 5 hours away, but this is his mother's car. In fact, that's his black Camaro sitting back there. I've always treated the man fair. The man always comes back. So I was trying to explain that to this guy. I said, you know, if you just try to get you, you know, or even a mom and pop shop. I mean, I'm not down on the guy that can't work on a car or doesn't have the tools or equipment. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's other avenues to find good guys to work on stuff. There's thousands of guys across the country that do exactly what I do. I work an 8-hour day. I come home. I usually go in the house, get a little dinner. And I come out here 2, 3, 4 hours. Depends on, like tonight's beautiful. It's gorgeous out tonight. So I'm going to put a little bit of time in on this job, which is timing chains. So I'll put a little time in on that because the weather's just beautiful. The girlfriend's asleep because she's not feeling well. So I'll stay out here. We're not TV people. We don't even watch TV. So this is my out. We like to have things. We have a lot of antique cars that we like to play with. So this pays for our toys. So, you know, I don't know. Maybe that is a little bit of tidbit information. It's just like I said with story time. Maybe you guys enjoyed it. I don't know. But if you liked it or enjoyed the video, hit that little button. Maybe I'll do another story time with Ed if you like story time with Ed. Do me a favor, do comment though, because I post a lot of my videos on Facebook. And I post them over here on YouTube. And a lot of my people already have watched them, so they don't go back and watch them. Or I probably get 200-300 views on my Facebook, and then I post them over here to YouTube land, and I might get 20 because everybody's already seen it. This one I probably won't bother because this thing's already 15 minutes long. So I blabbed long enough. So look, holler at your boy. Keep it reals. And maybe we'll do another story time in the future if you'd like to hear something else. Keep it reals.